787.
787 departure frequency 15 will be 1257.
Big surprise today. It's a great surprise. Daniel was supposed to come on SciFi And Friends, the podcast today, but Daniel's children, or at least one of them, got sick. So shout out to Daniel. We're thinking about you and your child. Daniel will be on soon. Daniel is a self-made DJ, beats maker. I know a lot of you are probably excited to hear his music today, playing the intro and outro of the podcast. Sorry, I don't have it. You'll have to listen to good old Serious Beats. Look him up on YouTube. He's a good buddy from Great Britain. He makes some good stuff. Besides that, computer is basically done. Just loading up drivers and all that good stuff. I've probably restarted the machine 102 times. But it all still works. It's not falling apart yet. But it's nice to kind of wrap that up since school's starting Monday. All right, here's the surprise, everybody. Today, I have a guest, I would call him legendary guest, mythical in many ways. He's in several bands, Built for Comfort and Coupe de Ville, and several others. And what do you play?
Guitar.
You play guitar, okay. He's a master of guitar. Extreme sports include, and I didn't even write them all down when he was telling me, but kayaking, rafting, and rappelling, and I think was scuba diving or spelunking.
I wish.
Spelunking, caving, yes. Or something. Yeah,
yeah.
That caving.
The cavers call it caving.
That was the most extreme. I didn't write it down. He is an education art teacher. He's been teaching art for...
In education for 38 years.
38 years, yeah. Been a principal, been a part of that whole industry for quite a while. So, everybody, welcome to SciFi And Friends, Larry Canon. Thanks for coming on the podcast today, Larry.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. Like we were talking before, and I guess we'll just dive right in to the band, because music is, you'd say, is your passion or one of your passions?
It's one of my passions, running even with art, and right now I spend more time on music, I think.
Than art. Mm-hmm. You could even call music art if you wanted.
Exactly. They blend together very nicely.
Yeah. So when did you start off playing guitar when
yes.
you were a boy? Or?
From the time, I guess, I heard the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. This goes back. Now you can tell my age.
There you go.
But that got a lot of people started on guitar.
Yeah.
I wanted a guitar all through, junior high and high school, and my dad finally got me one. I guess I was a junior in high school. Got me a $10 True Tone. Every store used to sell a version, like Ward's had one, Sears had one, Western Auto had one, but they're basically a $30 archtop acoustic guitar. Okay. And he got it used for $10, so it was a buy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, and I started playing on that.
Did you just teach yourself, or
I took 3 lessons.
Mm-hmm.
There was a guy from Pitcher, Oklahoma. Ryan Sims was his name. Good teacher, and went on to play with the Foggy River Boys for years and years. But he gave me 3 lessons and really got me up to a good start. And then basically, I learned from other people, just watching and playing along. It's kind of a slow, hard way to learn. Mm-hmm. We had a great local band in Baxter Springs called the Blue Sounds. They were good, yeah. Nice. And so I'd go hear them Saturday nights at the youth center, and I'd stand right there and watch the guitar player play. And I got together with some other guys who had taken lessons.
Nice.
And together we'd learn, and within just a year or two, we were playing dances.
Wow. That's a slow way, but like a really good foundation was laid, know, because you really had to dig and learn, and you're at those shows just watching the fingers go and trying to remember. So, and
of course the internet was decades away.
Yeah,
so those resources were not there.
Yeah, anybody today can just hop on YouTube or how many forums and
it's great,
and probably guitar models too, because we have the electrics and.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, the double, what do you call those with the 2?
Well, they do have double necks. One usually is a 12-string, one is 6-string, sometimes a bass, and not really very practical, but they're useful for some, some songs and some styles.
You can only play one at a time.
You can only play one at a time.
Yeah,
right.
so
and they add so much weight to it, you don't want to stand there for 2 hours with that hanging on your shoulder.
Right, they just toss it to you for a song or two. And
yes, for those guys who have guitar techs and hand them the guitar.
Right.
That works pretty well.
Good old Gene Simmons or something.
Yes.
His axe guitar, that had to be heavy.
Yeah, and some of those aren't comfortable, and you can't sit down and play them.
No.
Because they don't rest on your knee, but, they don't need to.
Especially the axe.
Yeah, they're for looks.
Yeah. That's really cool. So you said a year later you guys were playing shows. Was that the formation of a high school band, or was that just kind of?
I graduated from high school in '69, and everyone else in the band was younger than me, so they were either seniors or juniors when we started. And the two Olga brothers, Tyler and Lee, and Steve Jarrett was on drums, and we just started getting together because of our interest in music. We hadn't really been friends before. Of course, music is like that. You meet and run around with people you never would have gotten together with before. And that's kind of a nice thing about it.
Right.
And we just started playing. There was a girl named Kathy Craggett, a little older than us, who could sing like Janis Joplin.
Nice.
And then a boy named Jim Pettyjohn. His mom and dad ran a malt shop from across, that sounds like old times, but malt shop across the street. And so we started playing. And in those days, there weren't DJs. So every school dance had a band.
Oh.
So there were a lot of places to play back then.
Right.
And we just started putting together songs. We were a cover band. We wrote very few of our own things. And people wanted to hear that because they didn't have DJs back then.
They wanted to hear what was hot.
So we generally play in the gymnasium, which was awful acoustics. It's just a roar of noise.
Yeah.
And we knew nothing but how to play loud.
Yeah, I would say it could have been helpful for an early band.
Yes, it is. A really natural reverb.
Yeah.
And we could rent the youth center in town. Used to be one right next to the police station. We could rent it for $10 on a Saturday night and hire a policeman for $10.
Wow.
Sell tickets for $1 and have 200 kids there. And I was thinking about this the other day. I could take home $40, and that would buy 200 gallons of gas. And I got to thinking about that. I'm going to do the math. That just sounds. You ever spout out a fact, and as soon as you spout it out, you think that can't be right.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, it is. Yeah, for 20 cents a gallon, $40, you got 200 gallons in gas. So I was doing better than I thought back then, because we make about the same amount now.
Oh, yes, we do. Right. You get about a tank.
Yes,
a tank
that's
of gas.
true. So we had a lot of fun. I did it all through college.
Nice.
And just it seemed like every year we'd form a slightly different band. The guys I'm playing with now in Built for Comfort, the lead singer and I played together a little bit back then, but the bass player and I played a lot. And then the keyboard player, his name is Tyler Ogle, and we played together in the 70s, and he disappeared. And he played professionally a while and became a teacher. And then for the last 10 or 15 years, I think he was disabled, and recently, within the last year, moved back to town. We started playing together again. He was having a blast, and about 2 months ago, he passed away. Just surprise. So, and he was a great keyboard player. He was the best musician of us all.
And that's Kyle's uncle?
Yes.
Kyle's uncle. Okay.
Yeah, he was great. But I'm so glad he enjoyed this year more than he had recently any year.
Right.
And we enjoyed so much having him play with us. And I had to go through the other night and take songs off the list that we couldn't play without him. That is so sad. It's like taking people out of your phone, you know.
Right, kind of. But it sounds like a good way to go out. You know, like you said, the final year, kind of reunited with his good buddies and what he loved to do.
And we never thought we'd play together again.
Right.
And he had just ordered a new speaker system for his keyboard, and it came the Monday after he passed away. Oh. So he was feeling good and going strong, you know.
Planning to keep playing on for a long time.
Better than just dragging on forever and ever. So.
Yeah. Such is life. You should write a song for him or something.
Well, that's true. Cool. I'm not much of a songwriter. Someone will have to do that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So back in the day, do you remember any of the band names that you used to have? Any good ones?
Our first band was called Freedom, I think.
That's a good name.
And of course,
Jimi Hendrix used
the other guitar player and I were both in art.
Okay.
And in order to publicize our gigs, we would draw posters and letter them by, color them by hand.
Wow.
Then he went to Columbus to the Votech where he could do printing. So we would do a pencil or ink drawing of a poster, and he would run those off. Then we could fill in the dates and place and time, and then hang those up in the stores. So we had to go out and promote, and that was the only way we had of doing it.
Yeah. That's how, you can't post anything on Facebook. You can't
do
anything
exactly.
Like that. So you just running up to like the mall in Joplin and you just
we never hardly ever went out of town. Right in Baxter, there were a lot of stores in those days downtown.
Okay.
It was a happening place.
Yeah.
So we just go uptown and put posters in the windows, or you could put them in the school was the best place. Because most people who came to our dances were high school or early college.
Right, all your buddies. Well, I guess your bandmates were a little younger, so they kind of had to tug there.
Yeah.
You weren't in college at that time at all?
Yes, I'd started in fall of '69. I started college at Missouri Southern.
Okay, and were you studying music there? Or?
No, art. In fact,
I forget that.
I wasn't that hot on going to school. I went to Pittsburgh, and they sent me over to outfit for ROTC, and I thought, I just really don't want to do this.
Were you ROTC?
Everybody was.
Wow, just
So I didn't go ahead and enroll.
What, something your parents did, or just the guys decided?
Every guy, I guess, at PSU signed up for ROTC.
Oh, they had. Oh,
yes, it was mandatory.
Man.
And I wasn't a flaming liberal or anything,
Yeah.
but I just thought this is just too much.
Oh, yeah.
So I headed back home. My mom wanted me to go to college.
Yeah.
And she said, why don't you go over to this new school? I'd never even seen it. Because the mall had just been built that year. So I'd never gone over to that part of Joplin.
Yeah.
So I went over to Southern and enrolled, and I only found out years later, that was the first year, it was a 4-year school.
Wow.
It had been Joplin Junior College, located downtown someplace, I don't even remember where. So I started, and I was going to be a draftsman, because I'd gone 2 summers to McNally's in Pittsburgh and studied structural steel drafting.
Okay.
And I kind of liked it. It was very mechanical, of course. And in those days, you had these big books of logarithm formulas or something. I can't even imagine now. So for every angle, you had to look up and figure. Nowadays, they got all that computer, of course.
Right. Whoa.
But I spent my first 2 years with that in mind. But we had some old drafting teacher. He wouldn't even let you work with a mechanical pencil. And I designed signs for several years for a sign company in Baxter. He would have us use this pencil sharpener that sharpened the wood off the pencil. And then you had to use sandpaper to get a point. And I thought, this guy is killing me.
Yeah, what was all right.
So I went and checked out the art department. I thought, I like art, so I'll do this. I wasn't a serious student at all. But I found out pretty fast I'd be in Vietnam if I wasn't in school. So I had a little motivation, and I liked doing enough schoolwork to get by and then playing rock and roll on the weekends.
Did any of your buddies go to Vietnam?
No, strangely enough, no one in my class ended up in Vietnam. I'm not sure why, because I was like drawn number 62, and they took over 100 that year. They had a lottery. They just drew birth dates in a row.
Okay.
So you knew if you were going.
Right. Scary.
Now I had some of my buddies were in the service, and I don't know very many people were in Vietnam, but most of them were older than me.
Okay. Yeah. Dang. So when you went into art, did you have a goal set in mind?
I never liked school. So I sure wasn't going to be a teacher.
Yeah, right.
And then, so I just took the art classes, did everything that was required. Learned figure drawing, did some ceramics. I'd never even seen pottery done.
Oh, wow.
And so all these kids that went to Joplin schools, they had done pottery. They'd worked on the wheels. So the guy shows us how to do it and says, you have 50 pots to do at the end of the semester. So I still have to learn how to do it. Right. Well, I didn't get 50, but I aced the test. I made sure of that, so I got out with a B.
There you go. Good enough.
But yeah, at least I learned something about it.
Nice. Do you do any more pottery these days?
I do it every day in school.
Okay.
But that's one of the most popular classes in school now.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I can do enough to teach high school kids, but I can't go beyond that. That's not my strong point at all.
But it's not that you don't enjoy it. It's just
if I do art, I'd rather do drawing or painting.
Just kind of what's on your mind, what's on your heart. Just.
Yeah, I always like doing watercolor more than anything.
Okay.
But yeah, I took a variety of stuff in college, and I had a guy who was a teacher, really good watercolorist, but I never took that class in college. But later on, I took some summer workshops from him.
Yeah.
And then a guy who took my place designing signs at the sign company in Baxter. When I got a job teaching, he took my place, and we got together and would do watercolors. So I'm probably jumping ahead. As soon as I got out of school, I designed signs all through school part-time.
Okay. For just
Roberts Enterprises used to be a big sign company in Baxter, and they had signs in 7 states.
Wow.
And back then it was all done by hand.
Wow.
Of course, the salesman would come in on Monday morning, here's what I've sold.
Right.
And here's what's supposed to be on it, here's the size. So you would draw everything out in pencil, and then they would take it and sell it to the guy. And if there was a big contract, they'd have us do it in full color in acrylic.
Whoa.
So got to sit and do artwork all day long.
Yeah,
I love that.
Get paid for it.
Yeah.
So if it's one design, say it's a design, correct me if I'm wrong, for like a car salesman, and they need 20, you got to do 20. Like you don't get to make a template.
Oh no, I just do one drawing for that, and he sells the drawing.
Okay.
And then this company was not painted signs; they did what they called tape, but it's actually vinyl, and that's what almost all signs are now, except we cut it out with scissors and knives. Oh. So if you had letters this big, or 24 inches or 6 inches, That was the most boring job. I never did that one very often.
Yeah.
But just to sit down and
Sure.
cut those things out with scissors and knives. And then they would take them out, and they had patterns made out of what's called oil boards, kind of a thin cardboard, but it has an oil to it, so you can use it over and over and over again. And the guy would layout man would lay that out, trace around them, and then you would peel off and stick it down. So that part I didn't mind too much. But usually I was doing the drawing part.
Yeah, you prefer the drawing.
In the summers, sometimes I went out with the crews to put them up. And back then, the signs we did, the biggest ones were probably 12 by 40. All the post holes were dug by hand.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it's not like these big single pole signs you see now.
Right.
There's some of these little ones still around.
Huh.
But it was a lot of work because we put up signs in Arkansas and Texas. And
So you got to do a little traveling, too.
yes, because we'd take off Monday morning, come back Friday.
Nice.
And so, yeah.
So I'm sure you like that part of the job.
Did. And you might as well work extra hours while you're out there, so we usually had overtime.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, so.
Leave it Monday, come back Friday. Just cram it full of work.
And they didn't mind that because they had work to do. So it was a pretty interesting company. It was bought out by a group out of Georgia, and then that was probably bought out by someone else. And it
kind of hopped around a little bit.
Yeah.
So that would be early 70s when you were doing that?
And the sign business changed because now it's all banners stretched over a frame.
Oh, it's like fabric?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, most of them you see are not painted right there. There's still some that are.
Yeah.
And we would do a lot of things like Kentucky Fried Chicken. I think I painted probably 100 Colonel's heads, and all of those.
Awesome.
So a lot of that was hand painted.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was an interesting job. I kind of liked it, and I would have done that the rest of my life, but I was fortunate that I didn't get into drafting or that because they've been replaced by computers.
Right. Well,
So anyway, they offered me a job. I did my student teaching in Columbus, and then
So did you have to go back to school for that? To teach?
No, I just had to take. I had to do my student teaching, and I took one more semester.
Okay.
One extra semester, and did student teaching in Columbus. They offered me a job for $6,900 a year, and I turned it down. And then I worked for the sign company for a year, and then they offered me. I didn't have to even hunt a job; they were offering jobs.
Nice.
The guy calls from Baxter and says, "We have an art job opening up if you're interested." So I went and talked to them, and they offered $84.
Whoa.
So okay, I'll try that. That's what I've studied for. Yeah. So, and first year or two wasn't all that good because it was a bad program, and it just got a little better as we went. So about that time, I quit playing in bands, and that time, see, something else big happened. Sharon and I got together.
There you go. That's pretty big.
Yeah, she used to come to dances with us. Some girl always came with us, But
right.
The other guys were more like that than me. But anyway, I was designing signs in a storefront in Baxter, and she worked for an insurance company. She'd walk by to deliver the mail every day in a short skirt. Sharon, are you there?
You noticed that part.
Yes. Then once in a while, she'd stop and see how I was doing. So we just got together like that. And then she would go to dances with us.
There you go.
And then she claimed she wanted to take guitar lessons. So we got one lesson.
One lesson?
Yeah. Well, she would have had to cut her nails.
Very
so that wasn't
talented.
going to happen. So, 41 years later, we're still together.
There you go.
So that worked out all right.
Now, did she go Galena? Or did you guys go?
We both went to Baxter. So when I was a
right.
senior, she was a sophomore.
Okay. So you kind of knew of her?
Yes. And a lot of guys in my class married people in her class.
There you go.
Strangely enough, those two classes seemed to go together. We skipped the one in between us.
Sometimes that happens. Just flows better or something.
Yeah.
So have you ever thought about making like an Instagram or something for your drawings and your paint to kind of hop on that social media?
See, I just now got on Facebook. I put it off for so long, and I haven't posted yet. I'm just a stalker.
Just see what's going on.
I'm afraid if I start that, it'll take too much time. And I see people putting out what I consider dumb things.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
but
There's a lot of that.
That's all right.
I'm guilty.
I think everyone is.
Yeah.
But I got on when Tyler passed away because I wanted to see people that we had in common.
Sure.
And that's really the reason I finally got on it.
So there's a lot of people. I know a gentleman, his name is Todd. I can't remember his last name, but he's a professional comic book drawer. And one thing that he'll do is speed drawing. So where he gets a new character, I think his most famous one is Spider-Man and Obama, the comic book.
Oh, really?
That's him. And so he'll do a speed drawing where he'll draw out this comic book scene or character, but he'll put it in fast motion so that the viewer can kind of see his detail and art really, really quickly. I know a lot of people that will do that, a lot of artists that will do that. I think that would be cool if you did that.
Yeah. Well, I have my kids every day when we draw, they take a picture of what they've drawn with their computer. So that way, after a month or two, I should be able to flip through and see it develop.
Right.
And they can too.
Right.
They hate doing it, But I still think it's a good idea.
Yeah, right. It's like taking before and after pictures when you start working out. You never want to go back.
No.
Just keep it.
That's
But it does give you motivation.
yeah.
It should, at least, to see the progress that you've developed and made over time. Like, I was just drawing stick figures, and now I look at this beautiful whatever.
That's true.
Yeah.
I tell them, come in there and say, I can't draw. I say, well, that's why you're here.
Yeah, right.
If you could already draw, you would teach in the class.
There's something weird about that and art in general, because I struggle with it with video making, that it's a weird barrier or something that a lot of people will struggle with, as far as thinking that they have to be perfect or they have to know it. But unlike other things, where if I was going to play tennis, I would walk up and I would go, I don't know how to play, but for some reason, art in general, like, I don't know, people are more fearful. I guess it's more of the mixing up of talent and hard work and all that. So, like, some people are talented, but 99% of people have to put in the hard work to develop that skill. And there's this myth of, if you're talented and you can just walk in and pump it out, Scorsese he just walked in, and he might have, but there's people out there that, years and years and years of struggle and learning and mentorship and all that stuff.
And I've heard athletes say, like you're talking about tennis, if they were going to start a new sport, they'd go work on it for a while before they would show, because that's what they do.
Right.
Yeah. And for a long time with guitar playing, I thought, I want to be the best around. Well, I realized that's just not possible.
Yep.
There's excellent guitar players everywhere you go. You know? And at this age, I'm happy to be playing.
Yep.
And at my level, I think I played in some good bands. I've been very fortunate to be there and just enjoying the ride.
Yeah, absolutely.
And usually when I meet with other guys, they're someone better than me, and I can learn something.
Oh, yeah. And when you get to that level, that's where beautiful things happen.
Yeah.
Where you watch a really talented a guitar player, it inspires you. Where before, like me, if I saw a really good movie or something, I'd be like, I'm screwed.
Right.
I'm never going to make that.
Exactly.
But now I watched the Hateful Eight the other day, and I was just like, that was an amazing piece of cinema. That was awesome, and made me want to go in and write something of my own. So I think those athletes have something, go practice it for a while. And don't, if you want to be the best, and put some skin in the game, here we go.
And they have, like you say, they have the talent plus that drive.
Right.
And we're not all born with that drive, not at that level.
Yeah. I think you can cultivate that?
Yeah. I'd rather be a little good at several things, because I just can't zero in.
Yeah.
And right now I spend more time with music than art.
Right.
I really do, because I enjoy that getting together and performing for people. That artist, that's pretty solitary.
You can go on the street and do some spray paint art.
Yes.
I've seen that on Skid Row type thing. But it's amazing. This one guy, I was in Vegas, and this one guy had a spinning canvas, and he was just spray painting all these things, and it just looked like nothing, nothing.
Yes.
And he just spins it, and it is a tiger. Your brain just suddenly sees it. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea where that kind of skill or talent or
the idea.
To even begin to be like, I think I'm going to go spin this canvas and draw with spray paint, and it's going to be a tiger face or whatever. He drew a lot of different things. But that kind of skill and that kind of talent's unbelievable.
Yeah, where you get that. I was telling kids today in art, I said you can impress people a couple of ways with your artwork. You can be very skillful technically, which is usually where I fell. I said, or you can be very creative, where people just look at your work and say, how did they think of that? And if you can do both, you are really good.
Yeah, you're in good shoes.
Because I'm always showing them, now that we have all that stuff on the computers, I can show them things and say, how did they think of doing this?
Yeah.
What drop? And they give themselves horrific assignments. This is going to take you hundreds of hours, and no one's making you do it.
Right.
They're just driven to do that.
Right.
So, and I'm glad they are.
I was going to say, that's probably good.
Yes, for us, it's good.
Biting at the bit. And that's another good thing with computers and everything. You can kind of show off what you're doing, but also see what other people are doing.
Oh, yeah.
Kelsey and I watched another speed painter the other day, but it was completely digital. And they showed the ending picture first. And I was like, okay. And some of the steps that this person took, I don't know if it was a guy or a girl, but some of the steps that this person took, I was like, are you drawing the same picture? How are you going to get to the end of this? And the shading and putting all the glare of lights and all this stuff. And I guess it just proved that I'm not in that mindset, but it was fascinating to watch. She was much more adamant at, I know what he's doing here. He's drawing the teeth on this beast thing that he was drawing. And I was like, oh, I don't know what's going on.
Interesting group of people, and they're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not always visible.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking the first broadcast, TV broadcast, was from the Empire State Building, was John Nagy doing art. And that's how I learned a lot of my art as a little kid. He came on, of course, it was all black and white.
Yeah.
But he'd show you perspective and shading, all the basics.
Mm-hmm.
And I got my mom would sit off and get his books, and drawing utensils. But yeah, he was had the little goatee,
nice.
Looked the part. But,
who was the guy that used to draw on TV? Really famous afro. He had an afro.
Bob Ross.
Yeah, Bob Ross.
Yes.
Were you a fan of Bob Ross?
As far as his paintings, not so much, but he did something special because he got so many people interested.
He did.
People who were an artist all loved to watch him do his beautiful little trees.
Oh, yeah.
And he did mainly palette knife paintings.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people who would teach that style. You could take classes from them, and they would do the palette knife with the oils. And so, yeah, a lot of art teachers, don't like that. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Another thing that's come out now that a lot of art teachers don't like, adult coloring books.
Oh, yeah, that's a big hit
I think that is, I've known and the other art teacher and I both agree, people love to color.
Yeah.
It's just calming.
Absolutely.
And so we've been doing some of that for a long time.
Oh,
real simple color books,
sure.
For the kids. But these, I've gotten some, and they're pretty intricate.
The adult coloring.
Yeah.
books. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I read a thing about it, and if you think about it, every time I've ever colored, it's been a while, but I wasn't thinking about anything.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried about anything. My biggest worry was brown or red.
Yes. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And most of them are just designs. They're not even anything realistic.
Just abstract sort of things.
Yeah, I read about it in the paper. It's been a couple of years ago, maybe. And then I was in Branson in the bookstore, and here they
Sure
are
enough.
everywhere. So I bought one then. But I think it's a fairly recent phenomenon. And I think it's cool.
Strange that they call it adult coloring books.
Well, that's kind of a strange.
Buy a coloring book.
Yeah,
just go buy one.
That has a bad connotation.
Yeah, right. I guess they're abstract. So
yes,
fair enough. Yeah. So now you teach at Baxter a couple days, or 3 or 4 days a week.
I started teaching there in '74 when the new high school was built. When I started teaching, and then taught for 28 years, and then during that time I went back and got a degree in administration, and for 10 or 15 years, never got a job. I applied a few places, and then things just fell into place. I had gotten mine in elementary because I thought, I don't want to be here every night of my life. I want to teach or be a principal in elementary school.
Yeah.
But since I wasn't an elementary principal, I couldn't get in the right stack, So at some point, one of the guys who was assistant principal at Baxter, he and I started kayaking together, and it was one of my. I went through like 3 different groups of people kayaking with. They disappear or die or move on.
Geez.
Not
Dangerous
kayaking.
sport. Oh, okay. I was going to say, you're brave to keep going back.
No, I was telling my wife the most dangerous part of kayaking is that drive back and forth.
Oh, wow.
And statistically, it is.
Yeah. Well, depending on what river you're on.
Yes. Yeah. There's some rivers. Just you might 50-50. I wouldn't run those.
Yeah.
I didn't need the ultimate excitement. I need just a little.
Yeah. I'm sure it's pretty exciting no
it
matter
is.
what.
It's plenty. Yeah. Anyway, he was going to apply for the elementary job, so we knew that his position would be open, and I knew it was good because I needed 9 more hours to qualify for high school, and a window opened up for some reason. Now you don't need those hours anymore. With your degree, you could be a high school.
There you go.
Must be a sign.
Yeah.
So I applied for that, and I was assistant principal for 3 years under a principal who really did a lot of good for our school. Just took us up a notch.
Awesome.
And became what they call a blue ribbon school. So a group of us got to go to Washington, D.C. and get an award and things like that. So I inherited all the good stuff he did. His name was Jamie Carlisle. And he's the kind of guy that could make people mad. He's like that coach you played for that you didn't always like, but you always won.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he could get the best out of people.
That's awesome.
So I learned a lot from him. And then I went, then when I was going to retire, in fact, I told him this is my year. I handed in a letter of resignation. Well, late in the year, he quit to go to Tonganoxie.
Where'd he go?
Tonganoxie. It's up north of...
Oh, it's a town?
Yes. Between Kansas City and Topeka, but just north a little bit.
Okay.
And so the superintendent said, would you just like to stay and be principal? I said, well, I never really thought I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
I wasn't real aggressive, and, I just... And he said, well, it would be about a $14,000 raise. I said, let me ask Sharon.
Yeah. By the way.
Yeah. So I did. Well, I thought I could do it for a year. You know, I could serve prison term for a year. So
Yeah.
hard.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I went the first year, and it's all the problems you might expect.
Yeah.
And then by then I found out, you know, if you can do it 1 year, it usually takes 3 years, I think, to get decent at a job.
Mm-hmm.
So when they offered, I just signed up for 2 more. And plus, it helps out the retirement a whole lot.
Oh, I bet it did.
And I enjoyed the position because you just knew everything was going on, which is not always good, but it's kind of fun at some point. But you find out everyone in the building, you know, whether it's the cook or janitor or teacher or something, if they had a problem, you know, you walk in the door and here it comes.
Oh, wow.
So it's intense.
I bet.
I couldn't go back and do it now. I don't think I could gear up for it, you know.
Yeah.
So when I retired then, I got a job working for Jostens.
Okay.
Class rings and things like that. Guy out of Pittsburgh, real good guy. I think his name in a minute. Chris.
He'll come to you.
Yes, yeah. He's a really good salesman, good guy. So he had said before, he said, if you want to come to work for me when you retire. So I looked him up, and we would just work about 10 weeks at a time. He had 60-some schools between here in Wichita and Emporia.
Whoa.
And usually 2 of us would leave Pittsburgh on a morning and just hit 2 schools maybe, maybe 3 depending on the size, and sell rings or take sizes or do graduation stuff. And
Nice. So are you designing those rings or just kind of
Jostens is a huge company.
That's what I was thinking. But he's like the branch
of Kansas, yeah.
Okay.
And I found out these guys buy territories.
Wow.
You know, and they have to pay for everything that gets shipped in. I mean, you're working on your own. I'm sure they make really good profit, but there's a lot of responsibility. And Jostens is a good company because they guarantee things. Like if you want something changed 2 years later, they'll change it for you.
I'll vouch for Jostens. I ran over my ring in high school. I didn't even know about it. I ran over it with my Camaro. 2 days later, I got this smashed. Like it had literally flattened out. But you could see ciphered on it, and they completely replaced it with, you know, no charge at all.
They're pretty good.
Yeah,
they're high dollar up front, but they do take care of you.
Yeah,
yeah. Chris Curtis is his name because his wife is Jamie Lee Curtis. I should remember that.
Jamie Lee? Yeah, how can you not forget? That's awesome.
And he has good guys working for him, so they were always fun.
So, and he's still doing that, or
no? I did that for 2 years off and on, and it's a part-time job.
Yeah,
but you can only drive around southeast Kansas so long. The guy I was with knew he'd been a coach for years and traveled. He was older than me, and he always wanted to drive. I never drove. I slept.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but he was fun to travel with, and like I say, he knew every road. It didn't matter where we were going, what little burg, he could drive right there.
I've been here before.
Yes. So that's when they called and said, we have a lot of people wanting to take art. Would you be interested in teaching art part-time? Ooh, that sounds right. Just a mile from home, you know. And, so I started teaching 4 classes, and a full-time teacher was just teaching 6 at the time.
Wow.
And so now I'm teaching 2, and I like it better. So I teach 8 to 11, 3 days a week. I start off with an hour and a half, 90-minute ceramics class, and then a 90-minute drawing, and that's it.
Then you're good to go.
And several years ago, I started the ceramics class. The other art teacher didn't do much ceramics. He and I were so much alike, it's just scary in how we draw and what we like. He's not a real big fan of ceramics either, but probably less than I am. So he was happy to let that go.
Yeah, right. Here you go, Larry.
Yeah, and then we had 8 people the first time, and then like this week we started with 27 in one class. Now that'd be way too many if they were just your average kid, but these kids all pretty much want to be there and know what they're doing, and so I like that. They would usually come in and just start working.
Nice.
It's kind of like a college class, you know.
Right. You kind of like that.
And I have kids who have taken it 2 or 3 times now, so they're good helpers.
Kind of help manage everything.
Yeah, so
they choose that? They get to choose their classes? Okay, so that's...
And for a long time, they could just take it once. Well, I have kids in there for the 3rd time now. And one of the problems they have at the school right now is it's growing.
This particular class, or the school itself?
And the school itself, yeah. In fact, we got one of the middle school classes has 100 in it now. We usually have 70 in a class.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So the classes are crowded, and they need some place to send these kids. So I'm serving a purpose. I don't think they're so interested in me teaching art, just me occupying some kids a couple hours a day.
Right.
So, and they like being in there.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the kids, if they have a free period during the day, they'll come in and work. And today they're wanting to know, can we take these home and work on them? Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, really. So that's good.
Ceramics covers, like, what do you make?
Well, and it's actually called a 3D class, so they could do paper mache, carving, and I give them opportunities to do those things. but we generally work with clay.
Okay.
And I tell them, there's some great places in Joplin right now where you can take classes in ceramic, and I mean experts compared to me. They're good. That's what they've done for 40 years.
Nice.
But I said, this may be your last chance to do it for free.
Yeah.
So you better get on that potter's wheel and enjoy all you can here.
Right.
And if you really like it, you can pay for something else. And we usually take at least one field trip to the ceramic places in Joplin.
Okay.
There's one called Phoenix Fired Art on about 16th and Main.
Sounds familiar.
And then there's one over, it's fairly new, behind Home Depot.
Okay.
On East 20th, I guess that would be. Those guys are so good.
Do they have like a little studio you can
Yeah,
come
they're
in
actually,
and...
sometimes they're co-ops, like 12 to 15 potters work out of there. And since to have a place to work and kilns to fire and wheels and all of that kind of thing, they will pay so much a week to do that, or they'll teach classes. So they always have classes going on there. So they're very interesting places.
Oh, I can imagine.
And then there are a local color, that's on about 12th and Main, I think, in the Griffin building.
Oh, right.
It's similar, but it's mainly painting.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But they have some ceramics in there.
Yeah. The big thing in Joplin right now is that wine and paint. Have you
been
to that? Or
I've seen that back during the Third Thursdays.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, that is so popular
Isn't that
right
cool?
now. Everyone on Facebook's got a picture of that. I think Kelsey's been 2 or 3 times. Susan and Katie and Caressa one night. Yeah.
Yeah, they all came over and did some ceramics a year or so ago.
Nice. It's hugely popular, and I think for a long time they didn't have their liquor license. And so there was kind of this weird, like, bring your own wine, but now they got that all taken care of, and I think its business is booming. I mean, there's people at the restaurant who, there was a couple the other day I was waiting on, and it was their anniversary, and it's like, what do you guys planning on anything? Going out there and gamble? And like, we're going to wine and paint. Like, what? All right.
Yeah, they hit on something, didn't they?
Yeah.
Well, wine is more popular than ever.
Yeah.
I think just big time.
Sure.
And art, people like to paint.
Are you a wino at all? Would you
No.
consider? No.
Oh, I drink a little wine once in a while, but I don't know enough about it.
Don't dive in.
Yeah.
What kind of grapes they are, or anything like that?
No, I'm just
enjoy.
Just starting to learn a little bit.
Okay.
Because when you talk to people that know a lot about anything, they're fun.
Yeah.
Even
when that passion comes through.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's basically why I started this show, because I love when people do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday when Dennis was talking about that cybersecurity, that's when I just kind of put the mic over the side and I just kind of sit back and like, you say all you want. I'm ready to hear what you got to say.
Yeah.
So, I was forced to learn wine when I started at Red Oak. And I was I wasn't into it, but I had gone to Macadoodles and bought a bunch of different kinds and tried, but I didn't know what I was doing until I went to Red Oak. And my manager, Duke Walter. Do you know Duke? He lives in...
Red Oak is what now?
Red Oak is Downstream's premier steakhouse.
Oh, that's okay. I've heard the name.
That's where I work, yeah.
Okay.
And so when I first got there, our manager, Duke Walter, he lives in Pittsburgh, and he actually just opened, probably about a year ago, he opened Midtown Pizza on Main Street. Right.
Is that where Kitchen Pass used to be?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Midtown. So he and I think a buddy or two opened that up, and so far we're doing really good. But he used to be the manager at Red Oak, and that's where most of my wine knowledge came from.
Okay.
Because we have tons of wine, and we have our house cabs and Merlots and all that, and I've tried just about all of them, So I was kind of force-fed, but now I really like it. Like I got a couple bottles over in the corner where I'm kind of sitting on, and like Pinot Noirs and Petit Syrahs and all these good things. So I enjoy it. When you learn about one thing, you kind of learn about everything in a way, and that's kind of how wine was. And then that kind of knowledge bled over into coffee, like we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Coffee. So now there's the country of origin, the way it was grown, and so, like coffee, you can go down to the actual plant species. You can get real detailed with just about anything. So, and also plays in with my dad being a farmer, and so like you got your grass-fed beef, you got your prime cut beef.
Yes.
So anything you can dig into, and this with guitars, with certain kinds of strings and necks.
People go to extremes.
Oh, man.
And people claim they can hear different kinds of woods in an electric guitar. Well, I can't,
Yeah.
And maybe they can. I can't say, or they can tell if you play with a different chord into a tube amp. That would be a curse if I could hear that well.
Yeah, right.
You know.
Never shut that off.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's true or they really hear it because they could.
Man, I believe it. Tyler Jones. Do you know Tyler Jones?
Sure, had him in class.
Holy cow, that kid can hear things that nobody can hear.
He's spending this week at our school.
Okay.
He shows up in a suit every day.
Nice.
Yeah, and he's just sitting with the music program, just
Okay.
taking part, and he's a good kid.
Man, he is. He's a cool
I
guy.
had
Great
had
player.
his younger brother in class. He's a good kid too.
I didn't know he had a brother.
And they're both artists.
Okay. What's the brother's name?
I'll think of it here in a minute.
It's
I have his girlfriend in class this time. Her name's Sarah. Oh,
Is he a guitar player too? The younger one?
he's a drummer.
Oh, he's a drummer. Perfect. You got a Jones band.
In fact,
the
I think
making.
when they play, they play with Jade Weston and one or two more once in a while at Red Ball, and they're all very talented kids.
Yeah, they are.
And they have very good equipment.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
are
it took me
awesome.
30, 40 years to get that kind of equipment.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they are dedicated.
Yeah.
He Tyler helped us the other day. You know Jacob Fry? He's a Riverton graduate. He works. I think he still works at this Spring River Wellness Center. You know him. If you
I
saw
may.
him. He big football player. He used to be real popular in that. In that sense.
Okay.
He's got a beautiful singing voice, and that's another thing he's known for.
Really?
Is just this astronomical voice. He's actually studying at NSSU for music, and I think he's getting ready to wrap that up and go do whatever he's going to do. Anyway, so he came over a couple weeks ago, and we were going to record some things because he tried out for The Voice, and we wanted to make some recordings online so people could tap into that.
Yeah.
And we called over Tyler, and he played the acoustic guitar for us while Jacob sang. So he listened to the song one time. It was a who's the Ed Sheeran song? He listened to it one time, and he was like, "I'm good." You sure? You want to
Wow.
see? Yeah, played it flawlessly.
Wow.
Really talented kid.
When I was principal, we would have, after school on Wednesdays, we'd try to get together and have rock class, play guitar.
Yeah.
So he was one of them in that.
Yeah.
And there were usually 5 or 6 kids, and all good.
Oh yeah.
But generally what would happen, we'd get started and I'd get called away someplace.
Oh.
I rarely got to finish with
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
I said, I'd like to do it, but the job calls. But that's fun to see those kids go on and become really, really good at things like that.
Oh yeah.
And I like that.
And especially that they're passing it on too. Like Tyler showing up at class.
Yes.
That's probably the most beneficial.
And he's just a nice kid.
Yeah.
His dad's a good guy. He works for the
Yeah.
school.
Okay.
Good family. So.
And he's going to Pitt. He's getting ready to wrap that up too.
Yes.
So, when did all this extreme sport come in? Were you principaling at that time?
No,
or did
this
that-
is much, much earlier.
Okay.
When I started teaching at Baxter, there was a guy who was a reading teacher and later became the counselor at school. And he'd been raised in North Carolina, about 9 years older than me. And then was in the Navy and then was stationed in California. And he started hiking and climbing in Yosemite and got together with that stuff. And then when he moved back here, where his wife was from, we got together with some guys from Pittsburgh, Al Ortolani. Now, his dad's famous for a trainer, but the boy is my age.
Okay.
And then a guy named Wayne Bockelman and several more guys. We just all had an interest in getting out like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we started on canoeing, old aluminum canoes, before they made the plastic ones.
Yeah.
They were cold, hot, noisy, awful
Yeah.
things. And then we had the old style fisherman vest for life vests and things like that. Kind of started like I did guitar playing.
Yeah.
And then we decided we would order kayaks. We'd never even been in one. Never seen one, really.
Yeah.
And so out of Southern California, there was a group called Holoform that made a plastic polyethylene boat. Well, up to that point, they were all fiberglass or a little more exotic layups of fiberglass. Because for racing, they wanted them really light.
Right.
So we ordered these 4 or 5 because we got a good deal out of there. And I really didn't want to do it. I thought, I'm happy canoeing. I don't need to get in a kayak.
Yeah.
And anyway, we got them in. I think they cost $230 a piece at that time.
Not bad.
And then we got the paddle and the life vest and the helmet and everything and the skirt to go with it. And we would go up to Pittsburgh Middle School in those days had a pool in the basement. And since some of the guys taught up there, we would go up there on I think Monday nights, go down to the pool and learn to roll our kayaks.
Roll, meaning like under
Yeah,
the
so you can
water
get back up.
Oh, wow.
So we were reading books trying to learn how to do this, We figured out one way to do it, and we would practice and practice and practice. And later on, someone said, who really knew what they're doing, said, well, here's the way you need to do it for whitewater. So we had to kind of relearn.
Right.
But we don't do that and go eat at Jim's Steakhouse afterwards. So it was kind of a nice thing to do. Anyway,
like a
we
good
started paddling.
existence.
Yeah, we started paddling down in Arkansas and just learning as we went. And by 1980, a couple of magazines you could read about it, and we ended up going out to North Carolina where there was a kayaking school.
Oh, wow.
And of course, out there it's huge. There's raft guides, and it was just starting to blossom at that time. And that movie called Deliverance came out.
Yep.
And we wanted to run that river. Yeah, it's called the Chattooga River.
Yeah.
And of course, it attracts lots of attention.
Oh, I bet.
So we went out there and took that class, and man, we ran water harder than we ever saw. But all they required was if you can roll, show us that you can roll, we'll take you.
Good thing you've been practicing.
Yeah, and the first day we get on the river called the Nantahala, and I think it's Indian for Land of the Noonday Sun. It's in a deep gorge, and it usually has a mist above it because even when it's warm, the water comes out of the bottom of the dam, so it's 45-degree water.
Oh, wow.
And the instructors, when you first get out there all ready to go, they say, we want to see you roll. Do you want to take my word for it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, we got, the wetsuit top and everything, but your face and everything, you're still hitting that cold water.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't do it now. But so we'd do that. We'd go down that river, and then the Koi River was one of the better ones at the time. It was 5.5 miles of whitewater.
Wow.
The river was longer, but the way they would do their rivers out there for power, they would dam it every 5 or 6 miles. And instead of sending the water out the bottom, they would send water off the top down a wooden flume up along the side. Because the river dropped at 50 feet per mile. So 5 miles later, they could drop it 250 feet.
Jeez.
The Spring River drops at 3 feet per mile. So there's the difference.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was a whole different way. But the water was warmer because it came off the top.
Right.
But it was intense for 5.5 miles and pretty much alongside a road. But it was all I could handle. It was one of those when you get through, you go, wow, that was good.
That was fun.
And then we did run that Chattooga River.
Nice.
But it wasn't, on the movie, they put a lot of different scenes together.
Right.
You couldn't find the exact thing. They have a shoot, like, here's where this picture was taken, here's where this picture was taken.
Right.
Or Burt Reynolds was.
Yeah.
But it's a famous river to this day. It has some named rapids. And
much longer than the 5
Yes, in fact, they divided it in 4 sections. Like, number 1 is fishing, mainly. Number 2 is easy. Section 3 is 13 miles, and it's harder. And it ends in one of the most famous rapids. It's called Bull Sluice, and everyone who does whitewater knows Bull Sluice.
Yeah.
And then the next 5 miles, or what they call Section 4, and that, at the time especially then, was professional level.
Wow.
Now, people and equipment have gotten so much better, just like skiing. They're doing a whole step. Like if I ran a Class 5 back then, it's been downgraded to a 4.
Whoa.
So people are just, and everything got shorter. Skis, surfboards, kayaks. Because when they first started making kayaks, all racing kayaks were 4 meters, which I think is 13 feet,
12,
something. 13, And they finally figured, we're not racing. Why are we making these things so long? And now my kayak is considered moderately long. It's 8 feet long.
Wow.
And they have some 6 feet. I can't even get in them.
Oh, wow.
But when they did that, they're much more maneuverable.
Right.
And then people started doing tricks, and they'd get in the type of waves where we'd shoot through and be glad to get there. Now they stop in the middle of them and spin and they're athletes,
Like in competition?
Oh, yeah.
Do they get points for doing tricks?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, they have whitewater rodeos.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so they find what they call as a hole, kind of like a dam, but, it's not a uniform like the dam.
Okay.
But if you set sideways in it, it'll keep you, and you have to know how to get out. Generally, I just tried to blast through those things.
Yeah, right.
And hope I didn't get sucked down into it. But yeah, they get very comfortable with it, and they can paddle and roll with their hands. It's just amazing.
Roll with their hands.
Yeah, I have to have a paddle.
Okay, right. Okay.
And you learn how to get it back, and I'm not sure I can do that anymore. It takes some flexibility.
Seriously. So they probably like one's like a spin, like one trick would be like a spin. Like what other kind of tricks?
Yes. Well, they do a pop up where you put the nose in, it shoots you straight up. If you flop over on the front of the boat, it's called an ender, and then they have some fancy turns that I don't even know.
Just people making up stuff, just pushing the sport.
Yeah, it's just like the skiing thing, I think.
Are you a skier?
No, I've never skied.
Oh, okay.
I think I would have liked to, but I never got a chance to. And then after I was 40, some guy told me, well, if you're 40 and you haven't skied yet, don't start now.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, I believe that.
Yeah, right. I don't want to find out the hard way.
I'm doing enough things. I had too many friends that had broke legs and thumbs and finger. I mean, when it's just like whitewater, though. Here, southeast Kansas, when you go out to Colorado, you're not a skier. You ski once a year.
Right.
Those other guys are doing it every other day.
Yeah.
It's hard to jump on like that. And whitewater was the same way. We'd go out there for a week of exciting water.
Yeah.
And those guys are doing it every day of their lives.
Yeah, they just wake up.
And from the time they're little kids.
Yeah.
I paddled a couple of years ago. I usually paddle with guys from Fayetteville now. Mm-hmm. So I got some friends down there, so I can call them, and you can get on the website and find out what river's running, how fast, how high, and it's even a graph, so you can see how fast it's going up, when it starts down, and you can kind of plot it out ahead.
Wow.
And that's much easier in the old days when you call down there. Is the river running? Yeah. Well, it's running.
Yeah, it's full.
But I meet up with those guys. One's about my age, and one's quite a bit younger. But we paddle with groups because there's a canoe club down there.
Okay.
And there was a girl paddling with us. She had a bandage over her nose. She was a 7th or 8th grade cheerleader. Uh-oh. And they'd had one of those accidents when one of them falls and she broke her nose. Ooh. And she was kind of actually a chubby little girl. You know, picture. She could paddle all around us and roll with her hands. And I just, that's just a fact.
Just because she's growing up with it, it's just right there,
Yeah, it's nothing. So, once again, you can't be the best at many things. Mm-hmm. And especially if you're fighting youth.
Yeah, right. So, and everyone's fighting that.
Yes. Father Time is still undefeated.
Yes. Yep. Man, I was going to say, when my family took a lot of vacations to the Northwest, like to Wyoming and Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
And we would ski and stuff, but the X Games were just coming on, so I was always wanting to snowboard. Oh, man, did I take some hard falls. Because, the way you do it is you have to kind of go back and forth, and you pivot on one side of the board or the other. Well, if you pivot the wrong way, it catches.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll just catapult you, and you'll just eat snow. And no one briefed me on the different symbols for the different runs.
Oh.
And I remember this clear as day, black diamond. And I had no idea. I was like, whatever. Long story short, Casey, my brother, he was skiing with my mom and my cousin. Well, his ski would not stay on. So they hadn't gone down the mountain one time. I had gone down 8. So I was getting bored with these with the same pass. I was like, all right, I'm going to go over here. And I hit these, you might know what they're called, the just hill after hill, little tiny hills, maybe.
Whoop-de-doos or moguls or...
I don't know, whoop-de-dooed me right into into a tree. Oh, my God, it hurt so bad. And I just kind of had stars going.
Yes.
And I leaned back, and these guys came down, these skiers, like, you all right? I'm just, I don't know, maybe a 14, 15-year-old kid. I'm just like, I'm all right, and just kind of skied down. But now I know what a black diamond is.
Mm-hmm. It's Concussion City.
Oh, my gosh. I guarantee I got one that day.
Wow.
Yeah, but like you say, I was just there on vacation, and people are, Sean White and those guys, that is their life.
Yeah.
They've been on a board day one. So
for sure they're good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, a good friend of ours, just a little younger than me, they were skiing 2 years ago in Colorado, and a snowboarder hit her. Ooh. Broke her hip. Oh. They had to haul her down the mountain and fly her home.
Golly.
So that was her experience with a snowboard.
That was the last one, I'd imagine. Golly.
And he had broken his thumbs coming off a ski lift, so I don't think they're going back. And they love to ski, but I think that's going to be
Might have been the nail.
Yes.
Head down to the Bahamas where you lay on the beach and drink some rum or
there's
something.
There's a time for that.
Yeah. That's awesome. So what started first, kayaking or caving? Or
kayaking,
kind of all came together?
Yeah, kayaking, and then I still have a 14-foot raft. And we used to go out to Utah and take some pretty long trips. I think I've taken probably 5 100-mile trips. Wow. Then my favorite trip is 200 miles long.
And these are all on the river?
Yes. Okay. You can start down by Four Corners, where Utah and, Colorado and all those meet. Right. And there's a river called the Dolores, the River of Our Lady of Sorrows.
Yay.
And it runs straight north. Yeah, it runs straight north along the border.
Okay.
For 170 miles. Then it crosses into Colorado, where you hit the Colorado River, and 30 more miles you're in Moab.
Wow.
So you get to start up in these conifer forests, up high. Yeah. 10 days later, you're in Red Rock Desert.
Straight desert.
It is so cool. And took
How many days later?
10.
Okay.
We ran it twice. That was in the 90s, and I just found out after we did that river only runs for about 3 weeks a year.
Wow.
It's dammed so many times, and you have to have 150% of the normal snowpack, or there's not enough water. So we caught it very fortunately, ran it 2 years in a row.
Yeah, nice.
And I would like to run that one again. It has some super white water.
Really?
It's one of those where I had 2 rapids that I thought we would carry around. Uh-oh. But when you get there, you think, this is probably my last chance ever, and it's so much work to carry around it.
Yeah.
So we ran them,
Adrenaline rush.
Yes, absolutely.
You pulling off on the side to camp on those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and with that raft, you can take the Coleman stove and cans. So you live, you got everything but ice, and some guys carry that.
And it's not very. What's the weather like?
We went into Maine 1st of June, so it's sleeping bag weather.
It gets chilly at night, but not overbearing.
And then by the time you get to Moab, of course, it's usually pretty warm.
Yeah, I bet.
Moab, Utah. But it's a good time. And the first 50 miles, you run into quite a few people because that's the real heavy whitewater section. And the shuttle is easier there, from one end to the other. Sometimes the shuttles, if the river's 50 miles long, you might have to drive 200 miles to get around to the beginning to the end. But after that, you didn't see many people at all.
It gets pretty isolated.
And we'd go a day without seeing anyone.
Huh.
And the river was only crossed by a bridge in one place. And we were able to walk up a little ways and get some water. And,
nice. I bet that was pretty therapeutic.
Yeah.
It's 10 days of kind of buddies and adventure and
you just pull over and camp.
No worries besides how far you want to paddle today.
And then on the Green River, you can run a 100-mile trip in canoe. The water flows really well, but there's not a single rapid on that section, so people don't bother doing that. They want where the action is.
Oh, they want some. Yeah.
So we float 100 miles down, and then you have to hire a jet boat to come down from Moab to pick you up because you're at the beginning of Cataract Canyon, which you can't run.
Too dangerous?
Yeah. Big rafts run that.
Oh.
So they come down and carry you back up for so much.
100 miles? Just a 100-mile ride?
Yeah.
I was going to ask, how do you get back?
Yeah, you go down the Green River, and they meet. And then I think it's 60 miles back up to Moab on the Colorado side.
Okay.
And we had taken this outboard motors, and we were going to tie the canoes together, and go back up. And that guy said, if you don't know that river, you better take a lot of shear pins because you're going to lose a lot of props.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, come get us.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, because
what a great selling point.
Yeah, it meanders so much, and if you don't know where the channels are, you're going to run aground.
Right.
So,
what a great selling point.
Learning,
I'd make him come down and get me every time.
Didn't take
What's your
long.
price?
So we ran that one twice. And
what's the group of guys? How many you got with you? Or?
One time just another guy and I ran it.
Okay.
And then the other time 4 of us.
Okay.
2 canoes. And the canoe you can't live quite so well. You don't take the Coleman stove usually and things like that.
Which is strange because you think that the canoe would have more room.
Yeah, that raft, though, holds so much weight. The canoe you shove down starts getting close to being having the water lap over the edge.
Right.
But we took so many great hikes.
Oh, I bet.
And you take the books that have every mile. Here's what happened this mile. Here's how this got a name. This is where the geology changes.
Right.
It makes it so much more interesting.
Right.
Too.
It gives a lot of meaning.
And some of the guys I went with were English teachers, and they like to write journals.
Oh, man, that's good.
It's so great to read later on. And I never would have done that. And then recently I went with some guys who loved to play music. And so we'd be camped out in Utah someplace. We had the little battery-powered amps. We're down rocking out, and then one of the guys was playing the harmonica. And,
that is awesome.
And that was fun, too. Just different groups of people.
Nice. Yeah, that would be amazing. Casey wants to do the Appalachian Trail, which is no canoeing or anything.
No.
But a lot of walking.
Just walking.
Yeah.
She needs to read that book, A Walk in the Woods.
A Walk in the Woods?
Yes.
I'll recommend it.
It's very entertaining.
Man, he's into all that stuff, and he's getting ready to graduate here in May, so we'll see.
There's a girl from Baxter who walked a big part of it.
Really?
Her dad was the veterinarian over there.
Oh, Kemp? Katie Kemp? Yeah, she did, didn't she? Was it Katie?
I can't remember which one it was.
I don't know if there is another Kemp girl.
Yeah, there are about Justin. 5 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Katie and a Laura.
Okay.
Laura Kemp, because she's Ryan's age.
I was quite a little bit older.
But that guy who wrote the book, he did it in pieces. Mm-hmm. But he said they got to, I think it was an Nantahala Outdoor Center. That river, it crosses right there.
Okay.
And he said they've been walking for quite a while, and they had a 6-foot poster on the board. Huh. So he was looking to see where they were on the trail, where he's about the middle of it, and he starts looking down toward the floor. About 6 inches from the floor, this is where they are.
Oh, my gosh.
So that kind of put it in perspective.
Because it's Mexico to Oregon? Is it that far?
No, the Appalachian Trail is...
What am I thinking of?
North Georgia to White Mountain, I think, in New Hampshire.
Yeah, right. Then there's the Pacific Crest.
Pacific Crest Trail.
Yeah, that's what...
I think that'd be more scenic. What they said about this one was, you're walking in the trees all the time. So a lot of times there are no places where you can look.
Right.
That's why I like to hike short destination hikes. Like you hike 2 miles and you're at this overlook, and then you hike back.
Right.
I got to see something when I get there.
Yeah.
Now, Arkansas has a ton of those.
They really do.
Yes.
Beaver Lake, around Beaver Lake area. Yeah. I never knew that.
I have. I get Tim Ernst wrote a number of books. Back before GPS, he pushed a little wheel, so he could give you mileages.
Yeah.
And he has hiked,
Dedication.
I don't know, a million miles.
Jeez.
He writes like the waterfalls, the books, and he rates, scenic. And, I never go without one of his books. And nowadays, of course, I just take pictures of it on my phone and read it instead of pulling the book. Yeah.
All the pictures are geocached.
Yeah,
all that
so
stuff,
it's good stuff.
Exactly right there. That's always fun. That's a little hacking or a travel hack to where if you're ever in a remote area or somewhere you're not familiar with, you can hashtag something. Say in Yosemite, you could hashtag. I'm thinking, what's the big rock?
Oh, El
Half
Capitan.
Dome. I was thinking Half
Dome
Dome.
or El Capitan. Those two.
El Capitan, right. You could just hashtag El Capitan, and you can see all these different pictures that people have hashtagged and all these different perspectives of it.
Oh.
So, like, we were at Cozumel for the honeymoon, and someone had mentioned that. So what I had done is I hashtag Cozumel, and when you hashtag, basically that is tagging that word to a photo or a piece of information on the internet. So it's like a way to compile information.
Really? I've
So I
never heard of
hashtag Cozumel, and then I get all these pictures of people going out on a hike or people at a restaurant. Hashtag Cozumel, we're out for tacos or something. I'm like, that place looks good. I'm going there. So you could do that in a park like Arkansas or Yosemite or whatever.
That would be good.
Yeah. Just kind of see like where people are, like what are people doing, what's really popular, or what you didn't think of to do or something. So
Yeah, when I'm traveling someplace, I like to plan way ahead so I don't miss anything.
Yeah, for sure.
We spent about most of July's out around Seattle. Because Sharon's sister's been out there since 70.
Okay.
And they were both in education. And they have a big home overlooking the south part of Puget Sound, which in 70 they brought pretty cheaply.
I bet.
It's probably worth over $1 million now because
Holy
it's all
cow.
about what you can see from your house. If you can see the ocean or you can see the mountain, you have a view.
Right.
That makes it so much more expensive.
Oh, yeah. And worth,
Yeah.
I'll take a house with a view.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. And I got to where I knew that area quite a bit because sometimes I'd just get the train, take it to downtown Seattle, and just walk everywhere. I used to try to drive, but that parking in any city,
Oh, yeah.
the car is a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
I'd look for parking. Oh, there's one for just $20. I'll take it.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
So I could pay for the train ticket, ride in, or 12 stops on the way, get off anywhere and walk all over, ride right back down to my car.
I think that's how you have to do it.
Go.
I think that's how you have to do it.
Took me a while to discover that one.
Yeah.
And just leave that car behind.
Yeah, we always did Uber. Are you familiar with Uber?
Yes, but I've never done it.
It's amazing. I love it so much. You can rate your drivers. Like we were in Oklahoma City for Joey Diaz stand-up comedian comic show, and we were having a couple beers, and I did not want to drive downtown. Calling Uber. His name was Jerry. He had a big SUV. He gets out. He opens the doors for us. He's got like a snack bar. Where are you going? Like give him the directions to the hotel. Like he took care of us.
Oh, I think that's great.
Yeah, it's really good. And in LA, especially, holy cow.
Yes.
Anything you do, it's just like, dude, I don't want to drive. Like, whatever we do tonight, let's just not drive.
Right. I'd rather stay home than ever drive.
Seriously. But I think that's kind of what's happening in those bigger cities. At least LA. We were out in East LA, and it was kind of the area that we were was building itself up as you can go 2 miles in any direction, and everything you need is right there.
Yeah.
Like we had plenty of choices of grocery stores, of entertainment. There was a theater like half a mile down. There was a couple bars in the other direction, so we didn't have to go too far. You just take an Uber for a couple bucks or something.
Yes.
But there's nothing like going downtown either. See the historic places, and the museums, and concerts and stuff like that. So you can't really replace that yet, but totally.
That's cool. I like that Uber idea.
Absolutely. The taxi drivers did not.
No, they did not. They got a good thing going and have had for years.
Oh, yeah.
And they ain't had to be nice about it.
No. And, the taxi drivers had the unions. They had
Yes.
some huge lobbyists and a political power that I think the only thing that Uber had was the internet, and they're still around. There was a huge battle in LAX, the airport, that Uber drivers couldn't come in. There's the way the LAX is built. It's on a loop. It's on a 2-tier loop, and so you could either come in for arriving flights or departing flights, and it just loops around, and you can choose to continue on the loop, like I missed my turn, which I've done many times, or I'm out of here. I'm going back to the city or whatever. Well, to come in that loop, if you were an Uber driver, you could get fined some huge amount of money. But, you know, how can you tell if they're an Uber driver? You can't.
Right.
They just, it's
We
just
got
a
people
free.
picking up relatives, right?
It's right. You know, you can never tell until they start punching in something, but you could just, it all runs through their phone, so they could just have it in their pocket or something. So, but I think they just finally won some sort of lawsuit or some sort of legal issue where Ubers and Lyft and all that can kind of come into LA.
I'm surprised they beat the unions out because they play pretty rough.
Yeah, I think Uber's making a
Yeah.
ton of money though, a ton.
Well, that's good. I like seeing that kind of stuff. And the phone is so great to walk around the city with because otherwise you look like a tourist because you got that map out, you know, and they know what you're doing. But if you got your phone, you don't have to look like a tourist.
Yeah, I'm just checking my email, just looking at text.
Now they don't know who to pickpocket, you know.
Yeah,
for sure.
God, right. Just got to dress appropriately.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, well, I enjoy walking around cities and doing.
Oh yeah, I've never walked around Seattle, but I can imagine like the coffee culture.
Yes,
I mean it's
on every corner.
Oh, I bet it's amazing. And then just where Starbucks is from, right?
The
Seattle.
original Starbucks.
Yeah, you been there?
Uh-huh.
How's that?
It's good. I mean, it's like it was coffee and tea.
Okay.
You know, the original logo, and I think I've started to read Moby Dick. I think that's where they got that name Starbucks, isn't it?
Yes, that is.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of
That Moby Dick's a hard read.
somewhere over there on the shelf.
Yeah,
I've
and they
tried
say
it.
it's one of the great American novels. But it's like a lot of classic things. I can't get through them.
Oh,
They're just so slow.
even with what is it on the internet? Not script notes, but side notes, or I can't remember what it's called. Cliff notes.
Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was reading one of, I can't remember. I almost had it. I can't remember. One of the classics, Hawthorne or something, and I would have to go to script notes every time, like, what happened this chapter? You know, like
Yes.
I kind of got an idea what went on, but
I don't understand it at all.
Yeah.
I really don't.
you got some good English teaching buddies, though. You could just be like, hey,
That's
can
true.
Can you?
They're supposed to like that stuff.
Yeah, right. You studied it.
Reading, for a long time I told people, I would never read a book on a phone. That's dumb.
Yeah.
You know, and then my son got me to read Ken Follett.
Okay.
And he got me hooked on Pillars of the Earth because it was that building of the Gothic cathedrals, and I've always loved that period.
Yeah.
So I got started on that. Well, he writes 1,000-page books. Well, I hadn't read that much. I didn't read that much in college.
Put together, you
Yeah,
know.
so I wanted to read that book, and we were getting ready to leave for Seattle. I didn't want to take this big old book with me, so I downloaded it. I was hooked.
Easy.
I bet I'm on about the 8th book of his.
Wow.
And now he's up in the 60s. We've traveled from medieval times through
Wow.
all the wars, and they're historical novels.
Yeah.
Really good reads.
And all on your phone.
Yes. And I never would have dreamed I would do that.
Yeah.
But, every time you're sitting still for a minute or waiting for a concert to start
Oh, yeah.
or waiting for Sharon to shop, I can read.
Right.
And it's always lit, too.
Yes.
So no matter where you are, even in the dark, waiting for a movie or...
My favorite thing is touching a word and defining it
Oh, isn't
right
that
there.
good?
And it's there's almost like a tiny little pause on your sentence. I got my definition. It
Yes.
goes on because before I'd have to crack open the phone to go to the dictionary.com or whatever, and it kind of stops that flow.
Yeah, I used to actually make a list. I would write down all the words. In some books, I had quite a list.
Oh, yeah.
And I never got to look them all
That's
up.
exactly what I did. The same thing. I got a list in that room. I could just pull out of words I still don't know.
Yeah.
I never got around
But
to
you're
it.
right about that phone.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know what it is now.
Yeah, and instantly, and it'll keep a little log of the definitions that you have. So every once in a while I'll kind of go back and just flip through and just I kind of remember what that was.
I should be so much smarter than I used to be.
Well, technology really, it's making us really smart and really stupid all at the same time.
I was looking at Kyan the other day, playing with my phone, that little Bible app he
he's really
does. He
good with
loves
that
it.
phone. Holy cow!
When he's 15, what's a phone going to be? Are we going to be inside of him looking out? Or, you can't even dream of what that's going to be.
15. When he's 15, good God.
It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I can go a few years ahead and kind of like, that's probably what's going to happen, but it's just changing way too fast.
Yeah.
I was talking to Dennis yesterday, who was on the podcast, and we were saying how the last few years or last few decades of technology have kind of been isolated to the developed countries,
Right.
United States and Europe, New Zealand, and I guess like parts of Saudi Arabia and whatnot. Now the whole world can tap into the internet. I was just watching a documentary on how somewhere deep in Kenya or something, this remote tribe has a internet tower that like dictates their water, like make sure their water's pure and clean in this well. And when you have a global society pushing for information and research and design and development, I don't know what's going to happen.
That's amazing. And yet on the way to Joplin Day, Ryan called me from leaning, and we lost each other twice.
Yeah, right.
You know, the two opposite ends of...
What's going on here? We can't fix that. Yeah, we can get someone on the moon with less technology that's in my pocket, but can't keep a call going.
It's true.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we'll have to fix. And then those are the things where you would never know to tell Kyan about that you're going to have this problem. Like, you're going to be able to look up anything in the world at any moment. Yeah. But you might lose a call with your son across town. You know, like you can't tell him that.
That's
and,
right.
and we won't know until it happens.
It's like when we're playing music someplace, we have all these chords and everything. I'm always telling people, I wonder if we'll still be alive when someone asks you, tell me about chords again. What were they?
I'm fine with that. Let's do it. I mean, you can see all these chords around here. I'm ready for it.
I'm tripping over them all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I try to, I got a wireless system for the guitar, but I still got a bunch of chords every place.
Yeah,
you can't get by, but I think one day that'll be a thing of the past.
I would put that high on the priority list towards the scientists.
Great.
Like, can you guys just fix that real quick?
Yes, I got to quit tripping those things.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and you bend them or something and they stop working. It's just like, oh my gosh. Is there any quality loss in your guitar from the...
You know, that's interesting because I wondered that because I read all about guitars all the time, and they will check various cables and test them against each other. So some guys will use a $10 cable to hook up guitar to amp. Some guys want a $100 cable, and they claim and they test. They say, "Oh, that's a little more high end in it." I feel like I have too much trouble anyway. Why do you want that?
Yeah.
But I've never seen the comparison between wireless and wired, and that seems like an obvious choice, and I thought I need to write someone and ask.
Yeah.
Because if they did a test and it was in a magazine, I would have known about it, I think.
Oh, I bet you on YouTube. I guarantee.
I bet you're right. I'm glad we just got into that.
I'm going to
look
check
that
out some YouTube.
It's not enough that I notice, you know, but with all the noise going on, I couldn't tell. You know, laboratory situation maybe, but...
Right, in a vacuum.
Yeah.
I'm very biased, though. Even though I hate chords, wireless just kind of... I'm not sold on it.
Yeah.
Especially in a guitar situation where you think if I plug this into the guitar, it knows exactly
it has
where
copper, right.
It has to go that way. But wireless, I'm not... Maybe it's missing a bunch of energy. I don't know. Yeah.
And we use wireless microphones for years. And
that's true.
You will have trouble with them.
That's true.
When we try to use them outside on a moist night, you know, you get interference. So there's some problem with it. Right. And generally, the more expensive one you buy, the better it does.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
Yeah,
huh?
it is.
God. Well, Larry, this has been a fun talk. We didn't even get to... Well, yeah, we did. We got to some education, but you do some cave diving and all that stuff.
Caving, yeah. I don't do
caving
diving.
and all
and
that.
that's a thing of the past now. Because
for you or everybody?
The government has closed every state and federal cave for the last 3 years because of a bat disease.
A bat disease?
And it's called white nose. I thought, first you mean we have what? No, but it's the bats that have it.
Whoa.
So you can't, the caves we used to do, now private land, they can't close those. And some of the caves in Arkansas are magnificent.
Oh, I bet.
But I've been lost in several of them.
Oh my gosh.
And one of them's on national park land. You have to get a permit. And when you hike an hour to get to it, there's bars over it. You have the combination for that day. You let yourself in and lock it behind you.
Whoa.
Yeah, I always carried a hacksaw blade just in case.
Yeah, right. I'm not locking myself in.
Because a group from Pittsburgh got locked in overnight one time.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so I wasn't going to have that happen. So that's probably something for another episode, but the caves are pretty interesting.
I'm looking forward to that episode already. Yeah, well, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, I appreciate you asking me. It's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. The things we talked about. I love re-listening to these because there will be things that I totally missed that you might have said, you know, like, oh, he was talking about cave diving. Way at the first. Or
I'm interested to see what we talked about, too.
I'll post it later tonight. You can listen to it. So, well, I appreciate you coming on, man. I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. You get a special two episodes this week. I'll try to keep it up. School's coming up. If there's anybody you want to see or hear on the SciFi and Friends podcast, shoot me a Facebook or text. Most of you listeners are my good friends. If you want to come on, you let me know. We'll get you on. So, everybody, thanks for listening today, and have a good week. Peace.
SciFi wins.